All right, let's get right into it. The market is sending a signal that is impossible to ignore. We're hearing it from Goldman, from BlackRock. The message is loud and clear. The AI trade has hit a major inflection point. And look, this isn't just another rotation. It's a fundamental shift in how capital is moving. We're calling it the Great Rebalancing. The consensus on the street is just overwhelming at this point. You've got Sequoia, Goldman, BlackRock, you name it, they're all saying the same thing. The easy money phase is done. It's over. That whole era of growth at any cost, where you could just buy a narrative, that game is officially finished. The speculative fever has broken, and we're in a totally different environment now. So what is the market demanding now? What's the new mandate? Well, it really boils down to three things. First, the rotation is speeding up. Capital is absolutely flooding out of those crowded 7 mega-cap tech stocks and into the other 493 companies in the S&P. Second, the focus has shifted. It's no longer about digital hype. It's about physical reality. We're talking power grids, data centers, the actual picks and shovels that make AI work. And third, and this is the big one, the metric has changed. The market has poured $2 trillion into this revolution. And frankly, it's tired of stories. It wants one thing and one thing only, a real, tangible return on that investment. And hey, don't just take my word for it. This isn't some future prediction. The data is already telling the story. Just look at the performance so far this year. The tech-heavy NASDAQ, it's basically flat. Meanwhile, the equal-weighted S&P 500, which gives a voice to all the other companies, is up over 15%. Investors are literally voting with their capital, moving out of that concentrated tech bet and into the broader economy. You see, we're at this incredibly important turning point. We are officially leaving what's known as Phase 1 of the AI revolution, the Big Bang. This was the wild, buy-everything, narrative-driven phase. And you need to understand, that phase is now behind us. So the natural question is that it? Is the revolution over? Well, some macro strategists might say yes, but that's not the whole story. Others would argue that you're misreading the signals. This isn't the end of the revolution, not by a long shot. It's actually the beginning of the real work. Exactly. We're not at an end, we're just entering Phase 2, the build-out. And believe me, this is the most critical, most capital-intensive phase we've seen yet. This is where the digital dream of AI has to be built on a massive physical foundation. So it's not a collapse of the trend, it's a shift in focus. A huge one. And the next 2 years are really going to separate the winners from the losers. Think of it like this. 2026 is the show me year. As these physical bottlenecks start to emerge, not enough power, not enough cooling, the real winners are going to be the real assets. Grid operators, copper, you get the idea. The losers? All those thin AI wrapper apps with no real competitive advantage. Then, in 2027, we get the agent breakout. That's when true AI-native software platforms will really take off, and a lot of traditional business outsourcing is going to be in big trouble. Now, that's a compelling story for the future, but the hard-nosed macro view pushes back. They'd say a narrative is nice, but gravity, in the form of a $2.1 trillion capital spending bill, doesn't care about your narrative. It couldn't care less about the fancy paint job on the rocket ship. It only checks one thing: the fuel gauge. And that fuel, my friends, is cash flow and actual profitability. So how do we check that fuel gauge? Well, the best tool in the shed for that job is something called the PEG ratio, price to earnings to growth. Honestly, you can think of it as the market's lie detector. It just cuts through all the hype by comparing a stock's price to its actual earnings growth. It tells you plain and simple if you're paying a fair price or just getting caught up in the story. This is how we can visualize the entire market. On one axis, you plot quality, which we measure by return on invested capital. On the other, you plot value, measured by that PEG ratio. This magic quadrant framework lets us see almost instantly who the true high-quality bargains are and who the dangerously expensive players are. And guess what? The money is already on the move. Big institutional capital is flowing out of that expensive defensives box on the left. Yeah, we're talking about high-quality companies, but they're just dangerously overpriced right now. Think names like Apple and Microsoft, with PEG ratios way over 2.0. They're priced for absolute perfection, and the smart money is using them as a source of cash. But hold on, before you think this is a sell-all tech story, look at the other side of the chart. The tech specialists would point out that you're overlooking the growth bargains in the top right quadrant. The strategy isn't to just abandon technology. It's to be a sniper, to be selective. I mean, just look at NVIDIA or Meta. Their PEG ratios are still under 1.5. That is what institutional-grade growth on sale looks like. That is the sweet spot. So this brings us to the key question, doesn't it? How on earth do you invest in a market that's rewarding both the physical build-out, the boring stuff, and a very small, select group of high-growth tech companies? The winning strategy has to find a way to do both. And the answer, the playbook for 2026, is a barbell strategy. It's perfect for a market like this, a market in transition. On one side of the barbell, you get really disciplined about your tech exposure. And on the other side, you invest directly in those physical bottlenecks, the essential infrastructure that this entire AI revolution absolutely depends on. So what does this barbell look like in action? Well, first, on the tech side, you trim your passive exposure. Go through your portfolio. If you have a company that's priced for perfection but doesn't have a clear, credible AI revenue story, it's time to sell. Then, second, you buy the bottlenecks. This is the durable, non-speculative part of the trade. Utilities, electrical equipment, key commodities. That's the other heavier side of your barbell. Okay, let's make this really concrete. Here's your disciplined, data-driven action plan. The data really makes this simple. We can use a traffic light system based on those PEG ratios. In the green zone, with a PEG under 1.5, you've got names like NVIDIA and Google. Those look like aggressive buys. In the red zone, with a PEG over 2.5, Apple's there. That's a clear signal to trim. See? This framework takes the emotion out of it and just focuses you on finding quality at a fair price. And you have to understand, this barbell strategy isn't just a short-term trade for 2026. No, it's about positioning yourself for everything that comes next. We're talking about the coming agent economy, about sovereign AI, and eventually a true machine-to-machine economy. And guess what? The physical infrastructure you buy today is what's going to power all of it. So the main takeaway here is a very clear three-step process. Number one, rebalance your portfolio away from the pure digital hype. Number two, invest in the physical reality, the essential infrastructure that's not going away. And number three, stay disciplined with the data. Use frameworks like the PEG ratio to guide every single decision you make. If you only take away one thing from all of this, let it be this golden rule for 2026. You need to be continually rotating your capital. Move it from the expensive, high PEG names on the left side of that quadrant over to the high-value, low PEG opportunities on the right. That is the single most important action you can take to navigate this market. Look, the great rebalancing isn't some forecast for the future. It's happening right now. You now have the institutional playbook in your hands. The question is no longer if this massive shift is going to impact your portfolio. The only question left is how you're going to position for it. The next move is yours.